What started as a casual, on-camera conversation quickly spiraled into one of the most explosive celebrity confrontations in recent memory. At first, nothing seemed unusual, just another discussion, another recorded moment that would likely pass without much attention. But then something shifted. The tone changed. The energy in the room tightened. And before anyone could fully process what was happening, everything went completely out of control. In the now viral clip, Ray J appears visibly agitated, his demeanor transforming in real time. What began as sharp commentary escalated into outright hostility as he directly called out Cameron and Ma Dollar E in a way that caught everyone off guard, even those standing right beside him. The conversation didn't just get heated, it turned into a full-blown verbal clash. Ray J allegedly accused them of rewriting history, moving differently behind the scenes, and playing both sides for years. What made the moment even more intense was how sudden it felt. There was no gradual buildup on camera, just an immediate shift from discussion to confrontation. Witnesses described the room going quiet almost instantly. Awkward glances were exchanged, tension filled the air, and frustration rose so quickly that it felt like things could turn physical at any second. And just when it seemed like it couldn't escalate any further, another name entered the conversation: Shyne. That single mention added an entirely new layer to the situation. According to early reports, bringing up Shyne triggered deeper issues tied to past alliances, unresolved conflicts, and long-standing industry dynamics that fans have speculated about for years but never fully understood. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a disagreement in the moment. It felt connected to something much bigger, something buried beneath years of history. Within minutes, social media exploded. Clips spread rapidly across platforms, reaction videos flooded timelines, and fans immediately began choosing sides. Some supported Ray J, praising him for speaking openly and confronting issues that many believe have been ignored for too long. Others sided with Cameron and Ma Dollar E, arguing that Ray J's approach was too aggressive and unnecessary for a public setting. But the biggest question remained unanswered. Was this an emotional outburst or something more calculated? Because the way everything unfolded didn't feel random to many observers. The timing, the intensity, and the specific accusations all hinted at something deeper. According to multiple eyewitness accounts, what happened after the cameras stopped rolling may have changed everything, but those details are still unclear, and that uncertainty has only added fuel to the fire. To truly understand why this moment escalated so dramatically, you have to go back years, long before the cameras captured that confrontation. Ray J has built a reputation as someone who doesn't hold back. Whether through interviews, reality television, or social media, he's known for being outspoken and unfiltered, especially when he feels disrespected. Over time, that personality has evolved into someone who doesn't just respond to drama, but sometimes steps directly into it. On the other side, Cameron and Ma Dollar E represent a different kind of influence. Both rose to prominence during hip-hop's golden era and later transitioned into media personalities with strong voices and large platforms. Through interviews, podcasts, and commentary, they've shaped conversations around hip-hop culture, history, and authenticity. But beneath the surface of their public personas, insiders suggest there has always been a layer of tension, subtle disagreements, competitive energy, and differing perspectives on loyalty and legacy in the industry. These weren't issues that played out publicly. Instead, they remained in the background, quietly building over time. And then there's Shyne, arguably the most complex figure connected to this situation. His journey from rising rap star to incarceration and later reinvention as a political leader adds a unique dimension to the story. According to some insiders, his name carries weight in conversations about past alliances and industry relationships that never fully resolved. For years, these figures existed in overlapping circles, collaborations, shared connections, interviews, and indirect references, but rarely direct confrontation. That's what made this moment so explosive. Because when tension builds privately for years without being addressed, it doesn't just fade away, it grows. Multiple anonymous sources now claim that behind closed doors, discussions about respect, credit, and how hip-hop history is portrayed have been ongoing for some time. Some believe that comments made in past interviews were taken as subtle shots. Others point to business disagreements or shifting alliances as sources of quiet friction. In recent months, that tension reportedly started to rise. People close to the situation that Ray J had been increasingly vocal in private, expressing frustration over what he believed were misleading narratives being pushed in media conversations. At the same time, Cameron and Ma Dollar E continued expanding their presence, building platforms where their perspectives reached wider audiences than ever before. And that's what makes this situation so complicated. It's not just about one argument or one moment. It's about years of perception, reputation, and influence colliding in real time. When the confrontation finally happened, it didn't feel like the beginning of something. It felt like the release of something that had been building for a long time. And now that it's out in the open, there's no easy way to put it back. The internet continues to debate what really happened. Was Ray J reacting emotionally in the moment? Or was this a deliberate move to challenge narratives he felt were inaccurate? Was the mention of Shyne intentional, or did it reveal deeper issues that weren't meant to surface publicly? Right now, there are more questions than answers, but one thing is clear: this situation is far from over. Because when long-standing tensions finally come to light, they rarely end with a single confrontation. And if what insiders are hinting at is true, then what we've seen so far might only be the beginning of a much larger story, one that could reshape how fans view these figures and their place in hip-hop history. What makes this situation even more intense is that everyone involved isn't just an entertainer. They're a storyteller, a commentator, and a voice that shapes how millions of people understand the culture. Ray J, Cameron, and Ma Dollar E all operate in spaces where opinions don't stay private. They echo, they spread, they influence. So when tension builds between figures like this, it doesn't remain personal. It becomes public, amplified, and dissected in real time. That's why the now viral confrontation didn't feel like a random moment. It felt like the result of years of overlapping histories, quiet disagreements, and pressure building beneath the surface. According to early insider chatter, the atmosphere leading up to the moment was already uneasy. Small remarks didn't land the way they should have. Body language felt off. Conversations carried an edge that wasn't immediately obvious, but noticeable enough that something didn't feel right. And maybe the most important detail in all of this is that everyone in that room understands image. These are individuals who know exactly how they're perceived. They know when to speak, when to stay silent, and how to manage narratives. So when composure breaks in a setting like that, it usually means something deeper has been triggered, something strong enough to override calculation and control. As the story continues to unfold, it's becoming clearer that this wasn't just an argument caught on camera. It may have been the surface-level eruption of a deeper, long-standing conflict that's only now beginning to show itself. What happened in that room could be the start of a chain reaction, one that might expose years of behind-the-scenes tension that fans never fully saw. The moment that changed everything reportedly began in what was supposed to be a routine behind-the-scenes discussion. No audience, no expectations, just a conversation. But according to multiple eyewitness accounts, Ray J walked into that space already carrying visible tension. People described his energy as unusually sharp, his tone clipped, his expression serious, and his presence far more intense than what anyone expected in a casual setting. At the same time, Cameron and Ma Dollar E were engaged in conversation with others, appearing relaxed and composed. That balance didn't last long. The moment Ray J addressed them directly, everything shifted. What started as a seemingly normal exchange quickly turned into something more pointed. Insiders claim Ray J began referencing past interviews and public statements, calling out what he believed were misleading narratives. With each sentence, his voice reportedly grew louder, his frustration more visible. This wasn't subtle. It wasn't indirect. It was direct, and it was personal. Then came the first real escalation. According to those present, Ray J began questioning the credibility of media discussions connected to Cameron and Ma Dollar E, suggesting that certain details were being selectively presented to shape public perception. The room went quiet, not because people lost interest, but because they realized this was turning into something serious. Cameron, known for his calm but calculated responses, allegedly pushed back without raising his voice. He questioned Ray J's interpretation, suggesting that things were being taken out of context. It wasn't aggressive, but it wasn't passive either. It was controlled, measured resistance. Ma Dollar E, on the other hand, appeared to take a different approach, at least at first. According to witnesses, he seemed to try and de-escalate the situation, possibly sensing how quickly things were spiraling. But the tension didn't slow down. It kept rising. Every exchange added more pressure, more emotion, more weight. And then everything crossed a line. Multiple sources claim that Ray J suddenly raised his voice and made direct accusations, no longer implying, but stating outright, that certain people in the room had been moving strategically behind the scenes in ways that lacked honesty and transparency. That shift changed everything. What was once a disagreement became something far more volatile. That's when the energy in the room transformed completely. Phones reportedly started coming out. Some people began recording discreetly. Others exchanged looks, realizing that this wasn't just a private moment anymore. It had the potential to go public at any second. The atmosphere became tense, almost electric, as if everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. But the most shocking moment hadn't even happened yet. At the height of the confrontation, Ray J reportedly mentioned Shyne, and according to witnesses, that single name changed everything. The way it was brought up wasn't casual. It wasn't random. It felt connected to something deeper, past relationships, industry alliances, and unresolved history that hadn't been publicly addressed. The reaction was immediate. People in the room reportedly shifted in their posture. The body language changed. What was once defensive became more serious, more guarded. According to insiders, Cameron and Ma Dollar E no longer seemed focused on just responding to Ray J. They appeared to recognize that the conversation had moved into a completely different territory. Because once that layer was introduced, this wasn't just about interviews or public comments anymore. It became about history, about connections, about things that may have been left unresolved for years. And that's what makes this situation so unpredictable. Because when a confrontation shifts from surface-level disagreement to deeper, unresolved issues, there's no clear path forward. It doesn't end with one conversation. It opens the door to more questions, more revelations, and potentially more conflict. Right now, the public is only seeing fragments, short clips, second-hand accounts, and partial narratives. But if the reactions from those inside the room are any indication, what happened in that moment may have exposed just a small part of a much larger story. And if that's true, then this isn't the peak of the situation. What started as a routine, behind-the-scenes conversation quickly unraveled into something far more explosive. An intense confrontation that now has the entire internet trying to piece together what really happened. At the center of it all is Ray J, whose sudden shift in tone turned an ordinary discussion into a moment that may have exposed deeper tensions within the industry. According to multiple eyewitness accounts, the situation escalated rapidly, transforming from a disagreement into what many are now calling a collision of long-standing histories, loyalties, and unresolved issues. Those present described the atmosphere as tense from the very beginning. Ray J reportedly entered the room already on edge, his demeanor sharper than usual, his tone more controlled but clearly loaded with frustration. Across from him were Cameron and Ma Dollar E, both engaged in what initially appeared to be a normal conversation. But that normalcy didn't last long. What began as a simple exchange quickly turned pointed. Ray J allegedly started referencing past interviews and media commentary, questioning how certain narratives had been presented to the public. At first, it seemed like a disagreement over interpretation, but within moments, it became clear this was something much deeper. His voice reportedly grew louder, his words more direct. The accusations weren't just about opinions anymore, they felt personal. Witnesses say the room fell into an uneasy silence as the tension escalated, with everyone realizing this wasn't going to stay contained. Cameron, known for his composed yet sharp responses, reportedly pushed back calmly, suggesting that Ray J might be misreading situations or taking things out of context. Ma Dollar E, on the other hand, appeared to attempt de-escalation, trying to keep the conversation from spiraling further. But by that point, it was already too late. The confrontation crossed a line when Ray J allegedly began making direct accusations, implying that certain individuals had been moving strategically behind the scenes, shaping narratives in ways that weren't fully transparent. That's when the energy in the room shifted from tense to volatile. Phones quietly came out, recording began. People in the room reportedly exchanged glances, realizing that this wasn't just a private argument anymore. It was becoming a moment that could go public at any second. And then came the moment that changed everything. According to insiders, IJ suddenly referenced Shyne. The mention wasn't casual, it carried weight. It hinted at deeper connections, past alliances, and unresolved history that many fans have speculated about for years but never fully understood. The reaction was immediate. Witnesses described a noticeable shift in body language across the room. Cameron and Ma Dollar E reportedly became more serious, their responses more measured, as if the conversation had just entered territory that couldn't be easily walked back. At that point, the argument stopped being about surface-level disagreements. It became something much bigger, a clash tied to years of industry relationships, behind-the-scenes dynamics, and possibly long-held grievances. And instead of backing down, Ray J allegedly doubled down. He began implying that there were conversations and situations the public had never been told about, hidden layers to the story that could change how everything is understood. That implication alone raised the stakes dramatically. Now, it wasn't just about who was right or wrong. It was about what might be revealed if things went any further. The room reportedly fell silent, except for the voices at the center of the storm. Then came another twist. A response, described by insiders as sharp and unexpected, shifted the direction of the confrontation yet again. While details remain unclear, sources suggest that this comment may have connected multiple past events, alliances, and rivalries into a single unfolding narrative. That's when everyone realized this wasn't just an argument anymore. It was the beginning of something much larger. As the confrontation intensified, Ray J reportedly became more assertive, introducing claims that pointed to deeper issues involving trust, loyalty, and the way public narratives are shaped within the industry. He allegedly referenced situations from different time periods and circles, suggesting that they were somehow interconnected. This raised eyebrows instantly. Because if true, it meant the conflict wasn't isolated. It was part of a broader pattern. Almost immediately, fragments of the confrontation began leaking online. Short clips, blurry footage, and partial audio snippets started circulating across platforms. None of them told the full story, but they showed enough to ignite massive speculation. Social media exploded. On X, formerly Twitter, Threads began dissecting every second of the available footage. Users connected dots between past interviews, old podcast moments, and subtle remarks that now seemed far more significant in hindsight. One user wrote, "This didn't just happen, this has been building." Another claimed, "He said too much, this is deeper than we think." Meanwhile, anonymous accounts, claiming insider knowledge, began posting updates suggesting that tensions had been quietly brewing for months, possibly even years. Some alleged that disagreements over media narratives and public perception had already caused friction long before this confrontation. Fan pages took things even further. They began analyzing body language in the clips, pauses, facial expressions, tone shifts, searching for clues about what wasn't being said out loud. Every detail became evidence. Every reaction became part of a larger theory. Then, as if things weren't already intense enough, Shyne's name resurfaced again in online discussions. Fans began debating whether his mention during the confrontation pointed to a deeper, hidden connection. While nothing has been confirmed, the speculation alone was enough to push the story into overdrive. Now, industry commentators are stepping in. Some see this as a reflection of a larger issue: how media platforms, personal branding, and historical narratives often collide, especially when powerful voices operate in the same space. Others believe this moment highlights how quickly private disagreements can become public spectacles in the digital age. Because today, nothing stays behind closed doors for long. What happened in that room may have started as a private confrontation, but it has now evolved into a full-blown public mystery. And the most unsettling part, we still don't have the full story. What exactly triggered Ray J to speak out so aggressively? What connections was he hinting at? And how deep do these tensions really go? Right now, all we have are fragments, clips, reactions, and speculation. But if one thing is clear, it's this. This wasn't just a random outburst. It may be the first visible crack in a much larger, long-hidden story that's only just beginning to surface. What happens when a private confrontation spills into the public eye in real time? In today's digital age, it doesn't just stay a moment, it becomes a movement. And that's exactly what unfolded when tensions involving Ray J, Cameron, and Ma Dollar E exploded into one of the most talked-about incidents online. What pushed this situation even further wasn't just the confrontation itself, but what came after. A leaked audio snippet began circulating anonymously across platforms. In it, a voice, believed by some to be someone present during the original exchange, reacts in real time with clear shock, saying the argument escalated far beyond what anyone expected. The tone wasn't dramatic. It sounded genuine, almost alarmed. And if that audio is authentic, it introduces a chilling possibility. This wasn't planned, but once it started, no one could stop it. That single detail reframed everything. Because now, instead of viewing the confrontation as calculated or strategic, many began to see it as something far more volatile, a moment where emotions took over and spiraled beyond control, exposing tensions that may have been buried for years. At the same time, it raised a deeper question. If this truly wasn't meant to go public, then what exactly was said, or about to be said, that caused such an intense reaction? As conflicting narratives began forming, the internet did what it always does. It dissected everything. And within minutes of the first clip surfacing, the reaction was instant, explosive, and completely uncontrollable. On X, formerly Twitter, timelines turned into battlegrounds. Hashtags related to the confrontation began trending almost immediately, pulling in fans, commentators, and self-proclaimed insiders, all trying to make sense of what they had just witnessed. Two distinct camps formed almost overnight. On one side were those defending Ray J supporters argued that he was finally speaking his truth, calling out what they described as long-standing inconsistencies in industry narratives. To them, this wasn't just an outburst, it was a moment of accountability. They praised his willingness to confront issues directly, even if it meant risking backlash. On the other side were critics who saw the situation very differently. They described his approach as aggressive, unprofessional, and unnecessary. Some even suggested that the public nature of the confrontation overshadowed any valid points he may have been trying to make. In their eyes, the message got lost in the delivery. Meanwhile, fans of Cameron and Ma Dollar rallied behind them just as strongly. Supporters pointed to their long-standing presence in hip-hop culture, not just as artists, but as commentators and media voices. Over the years, both have built reputations for offering perspectives shaped by experience. Their fans argued that their commentary has consistently reflected industry insight, not manipulation. As the divide deepened, the conversation stopped being about a single moment and started becoming something much bigger. Over on platforms like TikTok and YouTube, reaction content exploded. Creators began breaking down the footage frame by frame, slowing it down, zooming in, analyzing every facial expression, pause, and tone shift. What looked like a heated argument to some became, for others, a coded exchange filled with hidden meaning. Some viewers claimed that subtle reactions from people in the room hinted at deeper awareness, like there were layers to the story that weren't being said out loud. Others pushed back, arguing that the internet was overanalyzing a moment that was, at its core, simply emotional and unfiltered. But the speculation didn't stop there. As clips continued circulating, the name Shyne resurfaced again in discussions. His mention during the confrontation, however brief, was enough to spark an entirely new wave of theories. Fans began questioning whether his connection pointed to deeper historical ties, past alliances, or unresolved issues that had never been publicly addressed. No confirmation, no clear answers. Just more questions. And that uncertainty is exactly what kept the story alive. Entertainment news outlets quickly picked up the story, framing it as one of the most unexpected celebrity clashes in recent memory. Commentary channels began offering breakdowns, not just of the confrontation itself, but of the broader dynamics at play. Some industry voices took a step back, offering a more measured perspective. They pointed out how quickly situations like this can escalate when multiple personalities, each with strong public platforms, collide. In an environment where media narratives, personal branding, and past history intersect, even a small disagreement can turn into something massive. Others highlighted a deeper issue: the gap between what the public sees and what actually happens behind the scenes. Because in moments like this, the audience isn't watching the full story. They're watching fragments, clips, reactions, interpretations. And from those fragments, entire narratives are built. As the debate intensified, some users began mapping out timelines, connecting past interviews, podcast appearances, collaborations, and subtle remarks in an attempt to understand how things escalated so quickly. Patterns began to emerge, at least in theory, but without confirmation, those patterns remained speculative. Still, they fueled the conversation. Because the more people looked, the more it felt like this wasn't just about one argument. It was about something that had been building for a long time. And that's what separates this situation from typical celebrity drama. This isn't just about who said what in one heated moment. It's about perception, influence, control over narrative. It's about how stories are told and who gets to tell them. And perhaps most importantly, it's about how quickly those stories can spiral once they leave private spaces and enter the public domain. Despite all the analysis, all the reactions, and all the theories, one thing remains unchanged. There is still no definitive explanation. No official statement has fully clarified what happened. No side has completely backed down. And no single version of events has been universally accepted as the truth. That lack of closure is exactly why the conversation hasn't faded. If anything, it's growing. Because every new clip, every new theory, every new reaction adds another layer to an already complex story. And right now, the biggest question isn't just what happened. It's this: what haven't we seen yet? Because if this moment was only the surface, if it was just the visible crack in something much deeper, then the real story may still be unfolding behind the scenes. And when it finally comes out, it could change everything. But here's the reality. No one has confirmed any of it. None of the key individuals involved have released a full, detailed explanation. There hasn't been a clear statement that addresses the deeper claims circulating online, and every new leak only seems to complicate the story further instead of clarifying it. That silence is what keeps this situation alive. Because in the absence of answers, speculation fills the gaps. And right now, those gaps are everywhere. Every new detail, whether it's a leaked message, a resurfaced clip, or a subtle reaction, adds another piece to the puzzle. But the puzzle itself still isn't complete. Which raises an even bigger question. Was this confrontation the final chapter of something that's been building for years? Or was it just the first glimpse into something much more complex that hasn't fully revealed itself yet? Because if these leaks hold even a fraction of truth, then what the public witnessed wasn't just a heated argument. It may have been the beginning of a much larger unraveling. One that could expose hidden dynamics, behind-the-scenes tensions, and realities that have never been fully visible to the public before. And that possibility changes everything. Now, the focus isn't just on what happened in that moment, it's on what might come next. Because this story is still moving. It's still evolving. And with every passing day, it feels like we're getting closer to something bigger. So now, after everything that's unfolded, the real question isn't just about the confrontation itself. It's about perspective. Whose version of the story do you actually believe? Do you think Ray J crossed the line with how he handled the situation? Was his approach too aggressive, too public, too unfiltered? Or do you believe he was exposing something that others have avoided addressing for years? Something uncomfortable, something complicated, something that was always there but never openly discussed? On the other hand, do you side with Cameron and Ma Dollar E? Do you see their stance as grounded in experience, shaped by years in the industry, and reflective of a perspective that deserves respect? Or do you feel like this confrontation revealed cracks in narratives that fans haven't fully seen before? This is one of those moments where there isn't a single clear answer. Every perspective adds another layer. Every opinion reveals a different angle. And the debate is far from over. Because here's something worth thinking about. If more behind-the-scenes details continue to surface, if more leaks come out, if more reactions happen, if more context is revealed, will your opinion stay the same? Or could everything flip again? That's the nature of stories like this. They don't move in straight lines. They shift. They evolve. And sometimes, they completely change direction when new information comes to light. Right now, we're in the middle of that process. We're watching it unfold in real time. And based on how quickly things are developing, it's clear that this isn't over yet. Not even close. Because if the current pace continues, the next update could arrive at any moment. And when it does, it might bring answers, or it might raise even bigger questions. Either way, one thing is certain. What you've seen so far might just be the beginning of something much bigger.